YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. I often talk about predictive programming on this channel to show you how the governments of the world show you these events, foreshadowing of future events in fictional movies, television shows, books, and yes, video games to psychologically condition the public. They do this because by familiarizing people with these things that are to come, the audience becomes more accepting with these events when they actually happen. It is also a form of witchcraft. So that being said, when we look at what's gone on in Venezuela, we continue to see stories of gunshots and anti-aircraft fire seen over Caracas as, of course, this facade of a story where we're supposed to believe the United States went in to another country that has a large military, that has many militias, and we just were able to so easily grab the president of this country and his wife overnight. And then, of course, we get all of these wonderful images of him smiling ear to ear, because that's how you would look if you were taken out of your bed in the middle of the night by the government of another country. This has never happened before, and it'll likely not happen again. Or will it? Is this the new precedent that they're setting for the United States to start taking countries like Greenland over? Because, of course, we know the plan with the Club of Rome and the 10 kingdoms in the United States to merge Canada, the U.S., and Greenland as one union. So we saw all the ridiculous photos, but I want to talk about the predictive programming because I've covered Call of Duty in the past. It's probably the most popular, other than Grand Theft Auto, one of the most popular games out there, gaming series or gaming franchises, I should say. Now, obviously, I don't play video games. I don't know much about these games, but I have covered Call of Duty in the past. You may remember Black Ops 6, The Truth Lies, where they showed so much stuff with secret societies, Freemasonry, the Illuminati, in the video game trailers, at least, for Black Ops 6 that came out, including this image, The Truth Lies, where they blindfold the presidents and then have the all-seeing eye symbolism over Abraham Lincoln. So the reason I'm covering this is because the plot for one of the Call of Duty games was exactly what just occurred in Venezuela. And the game was released in the year 2013, right around the time that Maduro became the leader of Venezuela. He became the elected or so-called elected president. So in 2013, Call of Duty Ghosts, the 10th installment of the first-person shooter game, is released. The story presented the Federation, a fictional alliance of South American countries whose capital was Caracas, as a military superpower that becomes the main enemy of the U.S. At the time, the narrative choice sparked considerable controversy in Venezuela, where the newly elected president, Nicolas Maduro, considered that the game was associating his country with a global military threat and symbolically positioning it as an antagonist. Clearly, the game remains relevant today due to its storyline and its connection to recent world events. In fact, Nicolas Maduro actually commented on that specific video game as well as some of the other Call of Duty games, accusing them of promoting violence, being a tool of American imperialism, and encouraging massacres, with his government even initiating legal action against Activision, alleging the games glorified terrorism and imperialist aggression against Venezuela and other nations. So his regime in Venezuela actually brought about a lawsuit against Activision, who is responsible for this series. And I'll play for you a clip from the game so you can see the direct correlation between everything that just happened on the news, which we know is a simulation, and the actual video game, including a raid in the night where they go to capture the president of Venezuela. But here were some of the key criticisms from Maduro. Maduro claimed the game spread message of hate, terrorism, and war, serving as a vehicle for U.S. psychological warfare against other countries, especially Venezuela. It glorified violence, especially the war zone game. And then again, in 2023, Venezuela Attorney General Tariq William Saab announced a lawsuit against Activision Blizzard demanding compensation for damages and the removal of allegedly violent and imperialist content. And they call it the game of death, Call of Duty, around Venezuela because it is accused of influencing young people to become violent and promoting aggression. So here is a clip from the video game so you can see for yourself.
It was 12 years ago when the Federation's military threatened all of South America. Their leader, General Almagro, demanded all U.S.-born citizens be imprisoned or executed. It was Rourke who convinced Washington to let the ghosts solve the problem. The U.S. sent an invasion force to destroy the Federation. Rourke led us to eliminate Almagro. But Rourke became obsessed with him. He talked of the man as if he were a bounty. And it was clear he would stop at nothing to claim that prize.
And again, from there, as the game continues on, you could even see some of the screenshots of them going in and attempting to capture the character who is playing the president of Venezuela in the middle of the night. So I'm sure that's a coincidence as well. Now, the other thing that happened a couple of weeks ago, which I had heard about at the time and was considering actually covering, because we know a lot of times when famous people die in threes, like we saw with Rob Reiner and his wife. Well, one of the people that died around the same time was Vince Zampella, who was the developer behind the Call of Duty games. And he died in a mysterious car crash on December 21st. So just a few weeks before this actually occurs, where the actual video game simulates real life, the creator of that game, the one who wrote the game and wrote the storyline of the game, happened to die in a bizarre car crash, as you'll see here.
Heartbreak across the gaming community. A man who helped shape modern video games and influenced an entire generation is gone. Vince Zampella, the legendary co-creator of Call of Duty, killed in a deadly crash on a mountain highway in LA County. Fox 11's Matthew Seedorf live tonight with the update. Matthew.
Well, Christine, this man impacted millions of people all over the world. One of two people killed in this crash.
Holy
New intense video obtained exclusively by Fox 11 moments after a deadly Ferrari crash.
Oh my God! What the
The single-car collision claiming 2 lives, including video game pioneer 55-year-old Vince Zampella. The California Highway Patrol says they're actively reviewing witness video like this as they investigate what exactly caused the car to lose control Sunday afternoon on Angeles Crest Highway. A windy, mountainous stretch of road in rural LA County, popular with drivers and motorcyclists, but notorious for serious, sometimes fatal crashes.
Just awful, as a well-respected person in the community.
Zampella, a foundational figure in modern gaming.
New extraction point fast.
Best known for co-creating the Call of Duty franchise, one of the highest grossing video game series of all time. Also helping build the massively successful Apex Legends universe, played by millions around the world.
You never met him, but this person had a huge impact in your life. I hope that whoever came across his games, his family, the community, I hope, they're all right and they grieve how they need to.
Zampella leaves behind 3 kids, the oldest just 26 years old. Reporting live tonight, Matthew Seedorf, Fox 11 News.
So I'm sure that's a coincidence as well. We know that sacrifice always surrounds these types of rituals that they perform. Because remember, when they do these things on the news, it's a ritual being performed on the public. It's an illusion because you're believing that this is a reality that's happening around you, that these events that the CIA is carrying out, whether it be black ops, false flags, or psyops, when you actually perceive them as reality, it's a form of spell casting being done on you because you're looking at these events that they're showing you on the news as if they're really occurring, and they're blurring your lines of what's real and what's not, which is why they use movies and television to show you the truth in plain sight, so that your mind perceives that as fiction because you're going into a movie or going into a TV series thinking to yourself, well, this is a fiction. It's just a fictional show that's showing human sacrifice occurring and cannibalism and all this other stuff that I've covered over the years. Then on the news, they show you an actual simulation telling you that this is what's happening in Israel and this is what's happening in Venezuela. This is what's happening in Russia. And your brain perceives that as truth and that as reality. That's why all these school shootings, all these fake events and these fake assassination attempts, they blur the lines of what's real and what's not. They could do things like they did with Donald Trump and suddenly cause a hero, build up a hero, a heroic figure in your mind by just pretending to assassinate him right in front of your eyes because your brain is perceiving this as they're trying to take down somebody who has the same ideologies as you and somebody who's standing for you. And all of a sudden, your brain starts to martyr these people like Charlie Kirk and look at these people as heroic figures. They use the news to simulate reality. And I wouldn't be surprised because this guy here, Vince Zampella, I mean, there's always going to be predictive programming in these video games just as much as there's going to be in movies these days because these video games serve as movies now. This isn't the days of Super Mario Brothers where you're just jumping on a mushroom or whatever those Oompa Loompas and running around the board and going to the next level. These games are like real action movies that you play in. Right, the game stops. They give you a plot. Guys are telling you what's going on, what you got to do. Here's your mission, and then you go with the remote control and you go shoot people and carry out the actual mission. They're using predictive programming more than ever in a lot of these Call of Duty games, including this Battlefield series, which happens to be Vince Zampella's. This was what he was working on around the time of his death. He was, one of the creators. He moved on from doing Call of Duty and has other franchises like Battlefield. And one of the games, I wouldn't be surprised if this is the future as well. Battlefield 2042. Listen to the plot of this game. Battlefield 2042 is a near future story set in 2042, focusing on a global conflict between the U.S. and Russia, exacerbated by climate change, resource scarcity, and a massive refugee crisis, creating the stateless no-pats who become soldiers in a proxy war led by figures like the enigmatic Oz, seeking survival in a new world order amidst collapsing governments and technology. The war kicks off after a 2040 satellite blackout, with both superpowers hiring no-pats to fight, leading to escalating tensions and often conflict over dwindling resources, all told through multiplayer experiences and seasonal lore. So that sounds like something I could see occurring in the very near future. If we're here in the year 2040, we'd all like to think maybe the trumpets will sound before then, but if we are, hypothetically, obviously we know a lot of the fictional tension that they're building is between the U.S. and Russia, between these two characters, Trump and Putin. So that might happen before 2042, but you can see all the tie-ins there, including them even mentioning a new world order. So this entire thing is obviously staged. People should be able to see that based on how all the talk has suddenly shifted again from Venezuela to Greenland. They're talking about Greenland again. After we went in to visit, what about Greenland? Now everyone's worried about Greenland, right? So maybe part of this whole thing, too, was to set people up and say, hey, look, Trump is going to go in and he's going to take countries, take their leaders down and take over countries. And this is going to be the new thing. Like we're playing a board game Risk where suddenly there's no international law. Suddenly none of the other countries are protecting their allies. So what are they even allies for? If Venezuela's allies are Iran and Russia and China, how come none of their militaries protected Maduro? How come none of them stepped in? Isn't that what the allies are supposed to do? Some of the non-NATO forces are supposed to stand by each other? Oh, right, of course not, because it's all make-believe. It's all a show, because conveniently, this is the way the show is shifting now, towards dictatorships, towards countries being able to take other countries, and then it'll work perfect for the 10-Kingdom Plan. Because then instead of saying, well, how did they acquire this country? If this is the map of the 10-Kingdom Plan, how are these countries merging together? Oh, well, they're just taking them. They're just going in and they're capturing their leaders in the night because their leaders aren't protected by the military. Meanwhile, I made a point in the other video on Maduro. Well, then why hasn't Putin ever gone into Ukraine and just grabbed Zelensky? Zelensky is just showing up everywhere. He's walking the streets daily. He's still going around, going at the Grammys. I mean, all this stuff in the last couple of years when they said, hey, Putin is going after Zelensky, he wants to get Zelensky. Could have went and grabbed him, clearly. The size of the two militaries, not even a comparison. If you're pretending that it's real, Ukraine versus Russia, right? Of course not, because it didn't play into the narrative, didn't play into the game. This does. So Trump now obviously is going to be looked at as some of the other stuff that he's saying. Hey, we're going to run Venezuela. We're going to anybody else who's a threat. We're going to come in and take over your country as well. This is the new playbook. This is what we're going to have to pay attention to. What happens from here? But you can clearly see from the photographs that Maduro is fully in on it. He's giving thumbs up. There's no resistance, not even resistance. He's smiling. One of the pictures with the DEA agents, the guy's got his hands in his pockets, the DEA agent. He doesn't feel threatened. He's smiling ear to ear like these two just got off a golf course together. Why is he smiling ear to ear? Because they probably did just get off a golf course together. So predictive programming with Call of Duty, no surprise. We've seen it a lot with the Call of Duty games as well as some of the other more popular video game franchises. And again, even the fact that Maduro was aware of Call of Duty, right? That he was trying to press a lawsuit against Activision because he didn't like the plot of the Call of Duty games and how it made Venezuela and him look. Should be enough for people to go, yeah, it's pretty weird. I mean, think about that, right? I mean, think about Donald Trump or some other sitting U.S. president filing a lawsuit against a video game company. I mean, it's probably more believable now with Trump because some of the, they just tell you stuff like Trump's suing YouTube, Trump's suing this person, right? It's all make-believe. Trump's not suing YouTube. YouTube's own guy, Google. Google is run by the government. It's a weapon of DARPA. I mean, let's be realistic. But, I guess you could see it now with how ridiculous the world has become. But if I told you 10, 15, 20 years ago, if I told you Ronald Reagan was suing Nintendo over some depiction of him in a video game, you would laugh. You'd be like, that's absolutely absurd and ridiculous. But it's an absurd clown world that we are living in. And I'm sure it was a coincidence as well that the creator of the game just happened to die 2 weeks before the actual kidnapping or abduction or capturing, whatever term they use, of Maduro, as clearly he is in on it as well. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families, as always.